and thank you for joining me on My Life on Paper. I am Brianna, and it is Sunday, so I am joining Sketch Sunday, where we all use the same sketch. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I picked out what I picked out so far. I do a lot of stash diving, and in that, I mean, I don't have a lot of necessarily collections that go together, but I have a lot of pieces, parts that aren't necessarily anything recent that coordinate. And I like the sketch because it has a vertical and horizontal photo in the sketch. And so I went to my Thanksgiving photos, and this is my youngest, Eliza. This is her boyfriend, Carson, and this is my husband. And these are our dogs, Violet and Winifred. And I'm going to use those. So I went to my fall Thanksgiving items. And then what I found a lot of goodies, but I found this from Bo Bunny, which has been in my stash forever. I clipped it off so it does not show a year, but it is vintage. And from that, I thought, oh, look at those stripes along the top. I can do that. And I got really excited when I saw this scallop, because that's going to go along the top. From there, I picked through the rest of my things. You can see on the bottom of the sketch there were hearts, and I found this, which coordinates. And I thought, ooh, I can definitely cut this out, and maybe I can cut out these other pieces as well. But for those other hearts, I might layer up some of these pumpkins, which I like that they're a nice big size. And again, they coordinate with everything. I have a couple of stickers, and I'm guessing these are probably Paper Studio stickers. So I've got 2 left that I might be able to use. And in fact, I think this one might be my title, Be Grateful. So I've got those items. Then what I did was I went into my paper stash, and I have all my papers by their color. And I went into yellow, and then I brought this over for inspiration, and I kind of said, oh, look at these. These match pretty well. So, but I didn't have anything big enough to be, well, I shouldn't say that, because I did find this, which could be a nice big piece behind the photos. You can see it's a little banged up. So I'm gonna, if I use it for that big piece, I'll find the best spot and do some tucking probably. But that is something that I can use. I like this because it's on craft paper, and this has some of the browns in it. So then I found this piece of paper which coordinates, and I think I'm going to use this for my background paper. I think it might be Stampin' Up, but don't hold me to that. It was in my paper that goes in rainbow order. This was in my stash. I might be able to use this as one of the stripes. I think this was at a giveaway at a scrapbook retreat that I went to, one of our welcome gifts. And then I do have a couple other stripes that go with all these pieces, as well as this big flower here. So that's what I have so far. And they're all gonna go nicely together, and I'm going to get them out of my stash, which makes me super excited. I am not buying anything new as far as my themed. I'm very much a themed scrapbooker, but as far as like the holidays especially, I am not buying any Christmas, no holiday, honestly. I have enough Easter and Thanksgiving and Christmas and 4th of July. What am I missing? Those are the main ones. New Year's Eve even. I have some New Year's Eve. Now, New Year's Eve, if I found something really cool, I have to say, we've been doing New Year's Eve type celebrations that I could use, and I used quite a bit this year, so that might be something that I look for in the future. But as far as all the other holidays, even St. Patrick's Day and Valentine's Day, guys, I have a lot. So I really am focusing on using what I have. In the beginning of the year, so we're halfway through the year, right? Well, more than halfway. This is August. I said I want to use stamps more. I did start a series, Stamp It Like It's Hot, that you'll see on the first Saturday of the month. But I really should use my stamps more. So that's something, saying it out loud right now. I'm gonna go into my stash and see if there's any stamps that I could also use with this. So let's get scrapping. Hang on for a long video, you guys. I sped this up way so much and it's still 17 minutes long. I don't know how that happens. And I'm recovering from influenza, so I sound a little bit different. Here I am trimming down the piece of paper. Had I had to do it again, this is really busy to go behind all those things. I would have taken a solid color paper, but it does work. I don't know why I'm not noticing that craft and yellow color paper isn't long enough to go all the way across, so you will see that replaced later on. But before that gets replaced, I do trim it down to the right size. Oh boy, maybe that's why this is so long. I'm going to take my scissors and make a little mark so I know exactly what size to cut it. That's not going to work out anyway. What are you going to do? Live and learn. Look, again, it's not long enough to go across, but I don't see that. I do trim down that piece of paper, that pattern piece, just a little bit. And I'm trying to keep everything in perspective. I know that there's going to be that scallop that goes up above. Here, I like to trim down my sticker pieces, my sticker borders, just to kind of lay them out to see how they're going to work before I use them. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm removing the scallop so I can lay it down on the paper and check out how everything looks and the dimensions to make sure that it all fits on the page. Same thing with the strip piece. That's one of those stickers as well. And then I'm going to cut apart this last bit, these tickets. I'm going to use, I don't know how well you can tell they're tickets, but there they are. So that goes down there. I just wanted to show you how I fussy cut. I really like this Tim Holtz. I know I've said it a lot. Tim Holtz serrated scissors. I never liked fussy cutting until I got this scissors. And then this does not have to be perfect. You can see me, I turn the paper, not the scissors, and then I just kind of did a jagged edge on this because it's not straight cuts. My jagged cut does not follow the flower exactly, but you can't ever tell that, and it's vellum. So there's the title I lay up there, and then I do fussy cut the rest of the flowers to lay those out, and I do end up using most of them. I think there's a couple pieces I don't use, but you'll see I use most of the pieces there. That's the one I don't end up using. I can just throw that away. I do have this yellow piece of paper that I had pulled out from my stash, and so I take the biggest leaf I can find, and I end up using Flame from Catherine Pooler. I don't show you the first one I stamped, but I will show you how I ink up the second one. And I was happy I got a very nice image out of it the first time. You just never know sometimes. So here I take the ink to the stamp, and it's just easy so you can really tell you get good coverage. And then I turn it upside down and stamp it. And that one came out perfectly as well. And then I just fussy cut those out. And this was more of a straight cut. It wasn't jagged like the other one. But on these images, you can either cut right up close to the edge of the stamped image, or you can give it a little border. Think of it like as you would see a sticker. And I do like to give them a little bit of a border like you would see on a sticker. It's really a personal preference thing. So a good way to use up my scraps. The rest of the scrap, the little bit of the yellow, I still have next to me on my desk. I'm going to use some kind of a punch with it. It could be tabbed punch, or it could be a butterfly, who knows, but I'll just use something to use that up and then get that out of my scraps and into my embellishments. This all goes really well just to make that the heart cluster on the bottom. So I use these for layering pieces. And it's not really a cluster. This is almost, I would say this is almost like a border on the bottom. You could look at it as separate clusters, but that's not the way I kind of put it together. And it all works out very well. So I tuck those pieces in and lay them out how I think it's gonna go. And then I get those pumpkins out that I'm gonna wanna use. Actually, this is probably where I figure out this is not gonna work. So I pull out, what I did was I went through my brown scraps and I found the two that that are big enough to fit that space. And these are the two. And from here, if I didn't like either one of those colors, actually they both worked really well, I could go then into my rainbow 12 by 12 pieces and pick out a new, a full piece that I could cut down. But because I did like the way the brown fit in here, I did go with that piece. And then, again, I'm just going to lay everything down to make sure everything's the right size, the right spacing. And then I do the same with the pumpkins as I do with the strips, and I cut them out so that they're still on the backing, but I can lay them out as I like them, make sure they're going to work, and there's enough room for them. And I'm happy with the way that's looking. I have Nicole Jones 911 printables, and that is where that tag came from. And I didn't want it to be that white because you just don't see white on my page. So my idea was to take one of these 3 inks and to ink that tag up. But because there was already yellow on this brush, whatever was on there is now on my tag. And it just gave it more of a tinted color. It's not white anymore, and it looks perfect. So here I'm getting stuff out of my way. In my stash, I had a couple of yellow circles, and so those are going to be part of my layering pieces as well. That's not something that's on the sketch, but it does, again, fill in that spot where not only those hearts are, but there is that extra, I don't know if it's border or what have you at the bottom, that I didn't really use. I didn't use that extra piece of paper to give that extra wiggle, hilly looking thing. Instead, I used my embellishments kind of to create that effect. So those circles represent that instead. So now I am going to start gluing things down. So I'm still going to use that sticker to kind of line things up, and based on how I want that to lay, I will take my ATG and glue that first piece of pattern paper down, and that's how I kind of line everything up from there. And I already know that everything's going to fit in the page the way it should because I've already lined everything up. So that's where I start at the top. And then I will, oh, here's where, it's not exactly straight. It doesn't follow the pattern paper exactly. And it took a piece of paper off. So what I end up doing is patching the paper back together. And the way the scallop border falls down, it actually holds that little piece that's patching the paper in. It holds it on there. So there you go. Next goes the strip. And I just eyeball that based on all my other lines I have on the paper. And then I have the tickets from the Bo Bunny sticker sheet. That goes down. And I'm going to get that brown cardstock down. And then I take a long time. Now this is sped up like 8 times, but I take a long time to kind of lay out my pictures perfectly. This is not an exact science. In fact, you can see, like, I think there's, well, maybe not. I was going to say their middle band is thicker than mine, but it doesn't really matter. But those photos could go anywhere on that brown, and I am lining them up pretty much like I see them in the sketch, which is fine. Then I'm going to get the bottom border back together again. And I pick up my weeding tool to make a hole into the tag. And I do take some twine to thread through there and make a little loop in to finish that off. And that twine matches along then with all the browns in the collection there on the layout. And I'm going to lay that down, that tag down, and get the title on at the same time. The title is Be Grateful. This was Thanksgiving, in case I didn't say that in the beginning. We didn't take any pictures of food this year, but we have these photos as well as we ran a, well, ran or walked. We did a Thanksgiving walk or run. Those are for another day to scrapbook though. So here I am laying out those pieces again on the bottom to get them back lined up the way I want them before I start gluing them down. Just moving them around and making them pleasing to the eye. And that again represents not only the hearts in the sketch, but that kind of that wavy border on the bottom as well. So once I get those kind of where I want them, I'm just going to start gluing them down in place, which makes it very easy. And I'm particular to where the pumpkins go. I want to keep those in the same place where they should go. And then this is vellum, and you can't see the ATG, the adhesive, anywhere. But I did keep the adhesive to the brown parts just in case you would be able to see them at all. Looking at it in real life, you can't see any of the ATG through the vellum at all. So that worked out well. I will have listed everyone below along with their links. Everyone that's playing along, I'll have their videos linked down below. Everyone that's playing along with Sketch Sunday. I have hit my 500 subscribers. I want to thank you so much for following along with me, all the comments, all the love. If you haven't yet subscribed, I would ask you to consider subscribing. And here I finish up the layout with some splatters, and that is all. So thank you so much for sticking with me till the end. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I'll see you again soon for another video.